Hello, my name's Fred McNeil, and welcome to QAC TV7. We have a weekly show with veterans called Thank You for Serving. And I have one of my favorite veterans with me, Mr. Bill Moore. Bill, thank you for coming on the show. Now we're going to do two things. Bill knows everybody in Queen Anne's County anyway, but we're just going to make sure you all know about his military history. And then he has this wonderful story about his father-in-law, which I'll tell you what, we told the story today to a group of 30 to 40 veterans, and it was amazing. Bill, remind everybody, born and raised Centerville.
Yep, born and raised, grew up in Centerville, stayed here till I was 22, out of the military, then moved to Kent Island.
Okay, now, high school, good basketball player, runner.
Cross-country basketball and track.
Now, I always wanted to ask you, what was your favorite, basketball or running?
Basketball, probably.
The team
more fun, but I was better at running, probably.
Oh, you're better running? Okay.
Better running, but basketball is more fun.
We were talking about, because we have a mutual acquaintance that's going to be running the state meet. Did you ever get to state level? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you ran in the States? Oh, how'd you do in the States?
Best I was ever was 8th.
8th at it. But
that's still
anybody, just an honor to run in the States.
Yeah.
Oh, so you ran the...
But we were in the hills. It just killed us. We didn't know how to handle them.
Well, remember when you and I were coaching cross country, we had no hills to train on, right?
Yeah.
We used to, it was no fun.
And we didn't have good coaches, and they never took us. I mean, they could have just taken us to Hibernia, but they never did.
No.
We could have just gone to Hibernia and run up and down the hill there.
Now, and you went to Centerville High School, which is right on Chesterfield Ave. Now, you ran behind the high school?
Behind the high school and on Judge Carter's property. That was our cross-country course.
Oh, Judge Carter's property.
I only ran 2 miles back in those days. It was a mile. You ran down along that woods, sandy bottom, follow right behind your house.
Yes.
You could have sat in your yard and watch you run.
Okay.
And then you jumped across that little fence.
Yes.
And then you were back in the property. And then you ran around the track and did that twice.
And that was the 2 mile course.
That was the 2 mile. Oh, girls didn't run at all. We could only run 2 miles. Now the girls are, I ask girls to run 5 miles. It's nothing.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So you graduated from high school, went to Goldie Beacon, and then the military called you, or did you join?
No, I went after I got at Goldie Beacon. Mrs. Swan was the lady in the draft board.
Right.
And she said, you better join the Air Force.
We're going to come get you.
They're going to draft you. Everybody's going to get drafted, my age, if you're not married or have kids. So I went to, got a meeting where all the recruiters were there. And the Coast Guard, I thought about the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard guy says, I will pick you up 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, that's fine. That's all right. The Air Force guy walks over to me, taps me on the shoulder. He said, I'll pick you up at 9 o'clock. I'll see you at 9.
Welcome to the Air Force. It was smart.
That was it. Other night I would have gone and then.
A joke among the Army guys, the Air Force eats better, living conditions better. It's just a better outfit to be in, I think.
Yeah, it was just like a job. I never wore a uniform except to work in 4 years.
So it was like a 9 to 5 job?
9 to 5 job.
You had it made.
At the radar site and even overseas. We wore sarongs, which was like a dress that the Thai people wore.
Yes.
That's what all the GIs.
That's what the GIs wore.
All us were walking around in these, you tied it around like a towel, and it was down to your knees.
And the GIs wore that?
All the time, yeah.
All right. Well, remind everybody, we're going to focus on your father-in-law in a minute, but so you joined the Air Force. Where'd you have basic training with the Air Force?
Lackland Air Force Base.
Oh, Lackland, okay.
And then went to supply school in Amarillo.
Oh, you actually trained as a supply?
Yeah.
Okay. But then you got into, what did they do? Typical military.
I was a supply guy in the Air Force who never worked in a warehouse and never was where there was a jet plane.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Well, it's like me. I was a 72 Bravo in the Army. I spent 18 months in Korea. Didn't do any communications. Worked in a supply.
In North Carolina, which is Winston-Salem Air Force Station, I was in a radar tower, and you just made sure that the radar guys had what they wanted. Like
you mean
all
supplies?
the electronic supply guy.
Okay.
But it wasn't a warehouse or anything. And there was 3 of us that were assigned to that job, and one of us had to be there all the time.
Oh, yeah. So it's
24 hours a day,
oh, wow.
in case it broke down. And we had a vehicle. Us 3 guys had one vehicle. Like if we didn't have it, you had to go to Roanoke Rapids. They had them all up and down the East Coast, these radar stations for the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that. So
they were actually on bases or just?
Yeah, you had your own room, had civilian cooks. Everybody.
Civilian cooks.
Yeah.
This is the Air Force.
Yeah,
You're killing it, though. You're killing it.
I never had KP in my life. Never had that. Never had charge of quarters in my life. When you went into the dining hall, you just told the guy how you want it. You want scrambled eggs or fried eggs or whatever.
With the Army, they just slop it on.
Yeah, we had that.
Oh, wow. So okay, so you ended up this communicating. Now, how does it get? My favorite story is your secret war in Thailand. Now, how did that all work out?
I was getting close to the end, had maybe a year and a half left, and I thought, I want to see something in
Was
the
it a
world.
4-year enlistment?
4 years, yes. And I think I'd have stayed in North Carolina had I not volunteered for Thailand. And then they sent me over there, same way. I was signed to, they call it NORS, Not Operational Ready Supply.
Okay.
And if I had a secret clearance, if the jet planes broke down or something they needed, I called the United States and get it. But I only did that for maybe 6 weeks, and I think I told you, the Episcopalian, we had a lay reader that was Episcopalian. Usually you have like Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish.
Yeah, right.
But at that base, he was a head of the wing commander, and he was Episcopal lay reader.
Oh, wow.
So I went to church a couple of times, and he said, "Are you going to stay in the military?" I said, "No, I'm going to get out." He said, "I want you to come work for me." So after about a month, and he took me outside to the base. Said, "This is what we're going to do. We're going to help these local people. We're going to, there was orphanages, missionaries,
in Thailand.
Yeah, schools. Then we got an interpreter who was the school superintendent. Could you imagine? The superintendent of schools came out to the base as an interpreter.
A job, money. He needed the money.
Yeah. So he would take me out, and that's what I did. Worked had to work at leprosy colony, schools.
And you take supplies to them.
Marrying old sisters, whatever they needed, and the wing commander would just say, "Take care of these people." We would convert refrigerators from electric. They didn't have electric out in the jungle.
Yeah.
To make them run off propane.
Okay, propane tanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, I've seen marrying old sisters. That's Catholic.
You're right, right.
Yeah. I mean, break down and cry because they got a refrigerator. They didn't have it.
And he did this just he's just a good guy.
He just did it on his own.
Oh, on his, this wasn't the government saying to do it. He just did
No,
it.
he just did it.
And your job was with it. Now he come.
But I worked in the office too.
Oh, okay. So he just say, "Hey, Bill, run down and do
that's
this."
what we're going to do. But I did more of that than in the office because I wasn't that busy. And like I say, when the greatest story of the whole thing, superintendent of schools, I had to take some stuff to the dump. So we went down there and they were burning bomb crates. Bomb crates were really nice plywood. And he was like,
"What are you doing?"
Yeah, don't burn the plywood to build the schools. I hauled bomb crates in the jungle all over the place.
And they made houses out of them or schools?
They made schools out of them.
Schools out of them.
That's what I told that at the superintendent, Carol Williamson.
Yes.
Yeah, I said, people at the canal shouldn't complain.
No.
You know what the schools were? Yes. A sheet of plywood, and when it rains, you put the sheet of plywood down, and we painted them Air Force gray. But they had a field full of paint, plywood, and it was, the jungles, it rust. Yeah. And that's what he said. This is crazy. This stuff's going to rust.
Give it to people.
Yeah, we're going to give it away. Get rid of it. So.
Are you ever in touch with that guy anymore? Or is he?
No, he left, and he was an older guy.
Oh, an older guy. Okay. Now the best story out of Thailand. If you would tell again the story, you were getting ready to rotate, and you had so many more months, and you ran into a Centerville person. This is the greatest.
Yeah. I had 5 months left when I got done, so I saw. Joan Sorflaten was the captain, one woman on the base out of 5,000 guys, and she was from Centerville. So I just stopped in and introduced myself.
Thailand, Centerville connection.
Halfway around the world. And she said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going back. I got 5 months." I said, "It's too bad I didn't have less than 3 months left."
They drop you.
Yeah, and you had to extend for 6 months. And she said, "Oh, not if you're from Centerville. We'll extend you 2 months." And I had 88 days. So I either had a choice of spending 5 months somewhere,
right,
or just 2 months there. So I liked it where it was.
Now, is she still alive?
Yeah.
Do you ever communicate with her or see her?
I saw her at a reunion. I talked to her. Yeah, at the Centerville High School reunion. I talked to her.
She should never have to buy a beer the rest of her life. You would buy one. Okay. Now, Bill, let's switch gears again. Today at the Veterans meeting we have every Monday at 11 at the American Legion, you told this wonderful story about your father-in-law. You want to share some of that?
Yeah, my father-in-law was raised in Towson. A lot of people seeing this will know Bill Towson had the men's shop in town. They were first cousins, so I knew him 10 years before I knew my wife, I guess. And he was injured in the war. He didn't have to go in. He was a local farmer. He was born in Wright's Chance. That's interesting. Right next to the library.
Right,
now that house that was on a farm then, But they moved that
moved
house
into town,
they
yes,
moved into
yes,
town. But
yes.
that's where he was born. Then his father went down to Kent Island. But he got arthritis in the service.
In the service.
And they say most people think it was from sleeping on the ground or
The damp
damp or
yeah.
whatever the reason. He was in Okinawa. And the thing that Jay read today was an article that Ralph Hoyt wrote for the Bay Times.
Okay, now, he was a local writer. Okay.
Yeah. And then he went, like I say, he went and got worked on there, and he couldn't figure out what it was, and he just was getting worse quick.
The arthritis was
getting worse quick, and they sent him back here, and then ended up saying you get 20% disabilities, which that was crazy. He couldn't walk around.
Couldn't do anything.
He was completely bent over and couldn't move. I mean, really in serious pain for a few years. And then finally, he just kept fighting, writing senators, writing everybody. You know, I should really get more than that. Ended up, he did get his 100% disability. Oh, he should have, yeah. And then after that, because he went through so much, he spent the rest of his life, well, became liquor inspector. They got that job in Queen Anne's County, but helping widows and people that would have never fought if it wasn't for him. And they would say like, oh, I can't get this. Oh, yes, you can.
You teach them how to go through
this
the
is what you do.
bureaucracy.
Yeah, that's what you do. And he made sure that the service people came to the VFW. We didn't have a service people. He made sure that happened once a month. Come around here. What do you need?
Helping people. Yeah.
But I think he was in some pain all of his life. And the guy today, I told him, it probably wouldn't have been bent over like that. He was doubled over.
Describe again, you don't have to say, but just describe, he was actually bent over.
Yeah. I think he had a choice of either, had to freeze him in the hips. So he could either freeze him.
What does that mean?
Somehow they had, you know.
They just freeze him in a position.
Yes, yeah. He was fixed in a one position, like he couldn't turn like that. But you couldn't get frozen standing up.
Okay.
Because you couldn't sit down.
Oh, yeah.
So when he stood up, he was in the same position he was as this chair. That's
always bent
This
over.
was his position. Yeah,
Always.
Since the war.
And you told me he drove.
Oh yeah.
Had four children. You say four?
Five children.
5 children.
Yeah.
Lived in helping people.
Yeah.
And doing the job.
And had the government built a house. You know, I mean, that was probably one of the first ones that was ever. Now they do it for everybody.
Describe the door. Yeah. Describe the doors.
It's a harbor view, really brick rancher, beautiful house with all wide doors, shower. You know, where you could, if you had to go in a wheelchair, which he was early, but when I knew him, and since he's been married, he got around. He just kind of shuffled around. You know what I mean? But he couldn't pick his feet up too well. But he would take, I guess, Advil and all that. But today, I still think that wouldn't happen.
That wouldn't happen. It's a different thing. Because I've never heard of. I mean, obviously it happens, but we see people bent over all the time, right? But they actually did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Now tell me. Now he got lucky, and the county gave him a job. You said.
Yeah.
What was it? And it was
liquor inspector. Yeah.
Oh, and how did you do that bent over like that?
Well, you just go around to different bars.
Oh, he just
make sure they closed. Yeah.
Okay.
He drove his car and had disabled tag on the back, and he was serious about his job.
You and I talked about it. We're obviously learning people with disabilities do everything they can to overcome them and proceed with a normal life like your father-in-law did, right? Okay.
That's what he had to do. He did, like I say, did a little oyster tonguing, and I mean, he leaned over on the boat, and he would call the oysters. He'd throw the oysters up. He would be bent over,
and he could do it.
Throw it, yeah.
And tell me about your the rabbit hunting story.
I would drive him around. We'd go rabbit hunting. He would walk across the fields. Of course, he couldn't walk in any brush. He had to stay on the outside where you shoot the rabbits. Right. And he always shot more rabbits than I did. He was the best shot. And I said, well, he was all bent over. I said, he was already down there with the rabbits. He could shoot.
He was on the same level.
He was the same level as the rabbit.
He could shoot level. How old did he live to, Bill?
58.
Oh, 50. So he's a young man when he passed. All right. Now, was it the rheumatoid arthritis? Or?
They said he eventually got pneumonia, but he got, I think, pancreatitis. Okay. But because of being like this, all of your organs, your lungs couldn't expand, you couldn't do anything. I mean, you know, when you live like that, everything just kind of compresses.
Right. Now, he's married, obviously, with having 5 kids.
Yeah.
His wife, full-time housewife, taking care of him and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So he lived a full life.
Yeah.
I mean, he just said...
It wasn't old, but like I say, when they left the, Fort Howard, I mean, they said he wouldn't live past 28, which
Oh,
they
Lord.
said that today.
Did he ever say what he did in the military, what his job was or anything?
He was just in the infantry.
Oh, he's 11 Bravo,
Yeah,
living in
yeah,
trenches and damp,
Yeah,
cold, chilly
sleeping on the floor,
weather. And that's probably what got him. But at least the government came to its senses. We hear it every day how they fight veterans over benefits. He got his 100%.
Yeah.
And with 100% disability plus, we were saying a county income, he probably lived a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Right.
He always said, I don't know if I was unlucky to get it because he went in the military, you know, I mean, it was just happened to get it in the military, or would I have gotten it anyway, and I was lucky that I got it in the military.
Because that way he got his disability.
That way he got
apply.
disability. Maybe he would have gotten it anyway later in life and wouldn't have got his 100, he wouldn't have gotten any disability. So, or if he'd have gone, maybe he wouldn't have got it at all. You'll never know.
Yeah, no.
You never know that.
Was he big in the Legion, or he just, I mean, was he?
VFW, the American Legion too, the Legion, when you look at the hall, and then the hall where they feed food, that's the Wrights and Tolson Hall.
Oh, yeah. That's
Canal Legion.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And have Wrights and Tolson scholarships through the American Legion and Ken Island.
So, and he was a well-known member of the community because he's helping people and being a local. Amazing. And you said a beautiful home.
Oh, yeah, beautiful brick home.
And they adapted to his environment.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, we'll keep going on. A lot of people, and we'll get off the veterans thing a little bit. Bill Tolson's His and Her Shop. Let's do a little memory lane trip through Centerville, all right? Let's go back to Centerville. I guess we're talking the 50s, 60s?
I started in my junior year. I started working there in high school.
Okay. Now tell me about Bill Tolson's His and Her Shop.
Well, it was just Tolson's Men's Shop
Okay.
when I went there, but by the time I got back from the military, it was his and hers.
Okay.
But originally it was Howard Rylands. Mr. Howard Ryland had
Now
it.
who is, okay. Oh, he had the store.
He had the store. Mr. Ryland, I think he died, and Billy Tolson took it over. He was working in
also the
insurance.
treasurer? So didn't he have a
He
county
was
job?
town job.
Oh,
town.
Okay. He was elected or
Yeah,
something.
no, he was county.
Yeah, county treasurer. Yeah, 'cause they
treasurer,
eliminated that position, right?
Yeah, he must have really needed that because he died of cancer. Bill did.
Oh, did he really? Okay. He's the nicest guy because when we first moved to town, I think he was a town commissioner or something. And he'd always, try to give you a little, well, this is what I would do, that would do. So you worked there before you went in the service?
Yeah, I worked there. Even when I was at Goldie Beacom, I'd come home and work weekends.
Oh, okay.
I worked there in high school and then Goldie Beacom. And then when I came back, like I said, I worked, when I got out of the Air Force, I worked at Goddard Space Flight Center.
And then what'd you do there?
A buyer.
Oh, okay. It's kind of your military
Military,
training.
yeah.
Okay.
All the military stuff. Had all the military numbers. They had like 9-digit numbers, everything in the military. So I knew all that, especially about the electronics, because I worked at radar sites,
Okay.
And I did that. And I think they were paying, I was making maybe $2.75, and another contractor got out $2.75, which was an hour.
Now Dunkin' Donuts, you get 20 an hour. Come on, what's going on here?
So, I said, for the new contractor came in, well, I won't do it for less than $3.25. If I don't get that, I'm not going to do it. Well, I was out of a job.
Oh, you're out.
Somebody did it for $2.75, and it wasn't me.
Isn't it amazing? We work for $2.75 an hour. And we
Well,
thought,
not bad, but
no, we thought we were fat cats, right? And now, Bill, also you told me, and we're just going to do a little nostalgia on Centerville. The Centerville had a movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
Now tell us about your involvement in that.
Well,
Go
it's
back
all right to tell you now.
You,
My sister was a ticket collector, and then after that, my cousin was, yeah.
okay.
And, of course, the black people sat in the balcony.
So the African Americans were up in the balcony. And
white people
one of the
went down.
guys in our group, James Watson, worked there.
Yeah,
right?
Earl Wilmer. He was.
Yeah, okay.
He used to run the projector.
Okay.
But I never paid. But it's this guy, Vernicola. He would come around with flashlights. If you sit with your girlfriend, started talking, he'd shine a flashlight. Hey, you can't be talking. Yeah, he would do it.
Okay.
But since my sister was a ticket collector, I went to every movie it was.
Yeah, come on in, Bill.
I just walked in. Had a big candy counter back there.
Okay.
Now
it's where Edwards Pharmacy
where
is
the parking lot is.
Oh, the Edwards parking lot. Now, there's also a bowling alley there?
I don't remember that.
Oh, you
but
don't
I've heard there was, but
Okay.
the Centerville Theater was where the parking lot is.
And that was
To
fairly
the left of Edwards.
Okay. Now, were you here also when the minor league baseball team was here? You
I
weren't
was
so much
probably
in the-
living, but I don't really remember. I remember the stadium
Okay.
at the end of Belvedere.
Okay.
I mean, it was a wooden green, just like you
Regular
would
stadium.
see
Regular stadium.
Field of Dreams or something, back
Okay.
there.
So we had
Not a cemetery.
All right, we'll get off the veterans thing a little bit, but we have a movie theater, Bill Tolson's His and Her Shop. Someone told me Centerville had 3 grocery stores. Tell me.
We had 2. One was the
Two.
Big Oak and then the Acme, not A&P. But really, Tom Beskett had one on the
Okay,
corner,
right.
by on Water Street, and that's where we dealt a lot.
Okay. And now what else? What are the track? I mean, obviously the old courthouse was there. Queen Anne statue didn't come to 1977. Well, they used to say, Bill, on Friday and Saturday nights, again, this might be before your time, you couldn't get a place to park in downtown.
No, when I worked in the men's shop, yeah, that's when all the farmers came. We stayed open, all the stores did, Friday and Saturday till 9.
Now nothing's open in Centerville. Nothing.
No,
Oh, you stayed open
barbershops stayed open.
Who owned the barbershop? Do you remember?
Mears, Bunny Mears.
Oh, Bunny Mears. Okay. I think he just sold it to Phil right before that. Yeah, which was good. So you had barbershop, movie theater. What were the other attractions in Centerville?
Well, he had Fox's store, Latchall's.
Okay, that's Mr. Goldstein.
And Beulah Jump. My sister and I we had the fashion taken care of. My sister worked for Beulah Jump. That was the women's shop.
Oh, she had
where Ashley's is.
Oh,
that was
real
Beulah Jump.
estate. That was a women's store.
Yeah, that was where Beulah Jump.
No one's ever told me that before.
Beulah Jump. So I was working Tolson's, and
You had the guys, and she had
the girls. Yeah,
Okay.
she worked for Mrs. Jump. But the barber, I mean, it was good growing up in town. I tell this story a lot. My father died in an automobile accident when I was young, 7 years old. So I was baptized at St. Paul's, but never really went. So one day, Judge Horney, who was on the Court of Appeals, he comes around there and said, "Which one of you is Bill Moore?" I thought, this is not good.
It's not good.
He said, "Bunny Mears, he had the barber shop.
Right.
The barber in town, this is the way small town was. The barber in town says, you were baptized at St. Paul's, and he was Methodist,
Okay.
and that you don't go to church."
Uh-oh, you're in trouble with the judge.
He said, "I'll tell you what," he said, "I can pick you up. I just lived right out by the Legion. Now, my whole family lived by the Legion, grandmother, uncle, and my father. My grandfather owned all those lots." He said, "I'll pick you up, or you can just walk down the bottom of the hill and walk up and come to church." I said, "I'll do it. I'll be there." He said, "You're going to be there now, because if not, I'm going to come get you."
This is the judge talking.
Judge, yes. He lived in Seven Gables, right across from the Catholic Church. That house, right across from there. And I've been going ever since.
To the Episcopal Church. And this was just a judge out of the blue doing this. I mean,
Because because people cared about you in those days.
Small town America.
The barber in town cared enough to tell the judge, "Look, you're an Episcopalian," he is. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gone to the Episcopal service in the Air Force. You know what I mean?
Yes, and all
Because
there's
of
a
that,
reason for all this
I went
stuff.
to the Episcopal service, changed my life around, and like I say, I worked all that. I'd have just stayed there in the Norris place, wouldn't have done that.
Now, Bill, again, we're jumping around, but let's go back to Centerville High School. I mean, we had at one time, I still haven't got this straight. There was a Sothersville High.
4 schools.
Okay. So walk me through, I mean, Sothersville, Centerville.
Stevensville and Kennard.
Stevensville had a.
And
Okay,
Kennard.
Okay. Kennard was the African-American school, and you competed against each other.
They played baseball and track my senior year, but that was the first.
Oh,
because they knew they were integrating. But
Oh, okay.
Not
Oh,
before
with
that.
Kennard. Okay, okay.
Yeah. And
Just
pictures
in-
in the yearbook of.
Oh, not until your senior year did you
Yeah.
play. Now, how about before that? Were you playing on a regular basis Stevensville and Sothersville? Or?
Oh yeah, that was big competitors.
that was big.
Stevensville and Centerville. They didn't even want us to come to Stevensville. Canal people, this is way.
Really?
At nighttime, we'd play them like right after school because
So it's a different world.
different. Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, Stevensville had like 35 people in the
Oh.
graduating class.
how many did
We had
Sothersville have?
60. So
Now, what would Sothersville
Sothersville
have?
probably had the 30 something too.
Okay.
And Kennard maybe had what we had, but the whole county
Okay.
came to Kennard.
Now, who was the best? I mean, like in the sports, was Centerville always dominating, or did the other schools?
No, it's according to who was there. It went back and forth.
Oh, went back and forth. No, who's coaching you? Do you remember
Glenn
basketball?
Vanoy came here just like all the people from West Virginia. And then
Okay.
Bill Young ended up
They're
there.
all here, yes.
Yeah, a lot of them were from
Now, did
Glenville, you know. I mean, Bill Young.
Glenville State or whatever it was, they all went?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, was Bill Young a teacher? Or no, that was
No,
not.
he's just a little bit older, so he was in college when I.
Okay.
He was probably a senior in college when I was a senior in high school.
Okay. Who was the principal of Centerville when you were there at Centerville High School?
Vernon Saltonfuss, Tex Saltonfuss.
Oh, Tex Sodenfuss, who was vice principal when I came here. Or no, he was a county commissioner when I came
First
here.
Republican elected in.
Nicest guy in the world.
He messed up the whole thing. ever since then, it's
Yes, because when we moved here, I think we only had 3 county commissioners,
Yeah.
and he was one of the 3. Just as nice as he could be. Oh, so he went from principal. Then when they consolidated, he became vice principal.
Vice
Is that
principal.
right? Okay. Any teachers you remember that maybe the crowd would know from the old days?
Well, Mrs. Dean was the business teacher. She probably taught me as much as anybody. Her husband was Senator Dean.
Okay.
Bonnie Dean. I don't know if
Yes,
you know Bonnie.
I know the
It's
name.
Their dad. But all of them, I mean, Bill Patton, certainly, he's still.
Oh, you taught Bill Patton taught you?
Yeah.
What did he teach you?
He was an English teacher.
Oh, Bill was an English
Yeah.
teacher. Then a wonderful principal at Centerville Middle
Yeah.
School. Oh, he was your
Still
teacher.
well known in
Oh, yeah.
St.
yeah.
Paul's guy.
Well, he lives down by you now, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Not? Yeah, which is good. Oh, I didn't know you had Bill Patton.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else still alive, or?
Jack Walker's still around.
Oh, don't tell any Jack Walker stories. They'll have the show will be canceled.
I got a new one for you. Fred.
Oh, no,
She
don't tell
told
me.
that
Don't.
today.
Everyone gets better. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, now Walker must have been a math teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you had Walker, Patton. Oh, that's kind of cool. And your coach. Were you any good? Was the team any good in basketball?
Oh, yeah.
Like Bill Young, he was state champions.
The track was before I got there, yeah.
Oh, before you
Bill,
got
Bill was, he was a pole vaulter guy and a track guy.
Bill
but,
Young.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think we'd have been better. They had a coach that really knew track.
Okay.
I can't think of his name, but anyway. But he left, and I saw him over to UMBC, and I said, well, why did you leave? He said, I left for $500.
I wouldn't give him $500 more.
$500.
And he went across the bridge and
And
probably
made money,
coached and
yeah.
everything.
He went, I mean, they were making maybe $4,000, and they paid him $45 and $50, you know what I mean?
Well, fortunately, we lose a lot of teachers, right? Because you know the difference when you cross that 4-mile bridge is a big difference. Good time growing up in Centerville. Good memories.
Oh, yeah.
Good memories. I mean, it must have been. I mean, it's a pleasant town now. I can't imagine it must have been. What was the population then? 2,000 or 3,000?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just beautiful. There's no Symphony Village, no Northbrook. It was just downtown, right?
When they put the heights there, like a lot of people, looks like Glen Burnie. People complained
They
about
complained about Centerville.
They did too. They complained about Centerville Heights. Oh, it looks just like Glen Burnie. You know?
Oh, funny. That's where of course,
And that was the first development. You know, what I mean,
was
the
that?
Heights.
Of course, that's where Ted lives now, and he just considers him being right downtown,
Yeah.
which is
Who
good.
would want to live there that close to everybody?
So they
Because
said-
everybody was farmers. You know.
Oh, okay.
Like
before
where I
that.
lived, that was those houses were all on 1 acre lots.
You were up by the American Legion,
Yeah,
yes?
yeah.
Okay.
Like I
all
say,
right.
coming into town, grandmother, uncle, Paul Gunther is where I lived.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know about the teased Centerville Heights look like Glen Burnie. Now they do it to Ken Island.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Never-
yeah.
Bill, I think we both love Queen Anne's County, but they complain about everything, don't they? I mean, whatever it might be. Well, look, our time's up. First of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for showing. Sure, your father-in-law must have been an amazing man.
He was.
He must have been an amazing man. And thank you for this. Well, I think one time, forget the veterans, just come on and talk about Centerville.
Oh, yeah, we can
okay?
go on forever about Centerville.
Which will be good. My name's Fred McNeil. Thank you for watching us. My time's up. Thank you for your time. We're going to see you next time.